A man, his cello, and a city under siege. This is the pianist of Sarajevo. This is a story that I've wanted to tell for years. It's the story of Vedran Smailović, one of the most respected cellists in the world. It's also the story of Sarajevo. It's the story of the siege, the horror, the loss, but also the humanity and the courage of ordinary people. Now, it was 1992. Vedran was 34 years old. He'd grown up in Sarajevo. He'd studied at the Moscow Conservatory. He'd performed all over Europe. But now, he was trapped in his hometown. The Bosnian War had broken out. Serbian soldiers had surrounded the city. They were dropping mortar. People were being killed. And like thousands of others, Vedran's family begged him to leave. They said, "Vedran, why don't you come with us? We can get out of here. Can continue your career. Look at what's happening." But Vedran didn't want to go. He loved Sarajevo. Besides, what could he do in the safety of Vienna or Stockholm? That wasn't going to help anyone. So one day Vedran decided to stay. He figured he could ride it out. He'd hunker down in his apartment. He'd eat the food that he had in his refrigerator. He'd wait until the fighting stopped. So he told his family, "Don't come back for me. Don't even call. I'll be fine." And they left Vedran and watched them go. And then he turned off the television and shut the door. And for weeks, everything was okay. The sun would shine through his window. He'd practice his cello. He'd read a book, take a walk. It was just another summer in Sarajevo. But then one afternoon, he heard a loud bang and something flew through his window. It was a piece of shrapnel from a mortar. Then another explosion and another piece of shrapnel. Vedran quickly realized that his apartment was no longer safe. So he packed 2 bags, his passport, some water, some canned food, and he left. Moved into the basement of a friend's house. Now, this wasn't an ideal situation, but it was better than his apartment. Besides, Vedran figured it wouldn't last too long. So he settled in. He ate the canned peaches that he'd brought with him, drank the bottled water, listened to the bombs drop, hoping that it would end soon. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the bombs kept falling. People were being killed, wounded, entire buildings were destroyed. One day, Vedran's friend came down the stairs and told him that he had to leave. He said, "Vedran, it's not safe here. We have to get out of this city." But Vedran didn't want to go. He said, "I'm sorry, but I can't leave. Not now. Not until things settle down." And his friend shook his head and he left. Vedran was alone. He was terrified, but he was determined to stay. He would hide during the day, and at night he would come out. He would walk through the streets of Sarajevo, the snow crunching under his boots, the moonlight illuminating the rubble, the buildings bombed and burned, a thick blanket of death over everything. And Vedran knew that he couldn't stay in the city center. There were snipers there. He needed to get out. And one night, Vedran saw a cluster of lights. He walked toward them. It was a small group of refugees huddled around a fire, trying to keep warm. He asked if he could join them, and they welcomed him. And like every night, they talked about everything: their families, their jobs, their lives before the siege, their hopes for the future. But when they fell silent, when the only sound was the crackle of the fire, Vedran told them, "I'm sorry, but I have to go back. I can't stay here. I have to play." And the refugees looked at each other. They said, "You're crazy. The Serbs will kill you. The snipers will hit you." But Vedran didn't care. He said, "That's the only thing I can do. That's the only thing that makes sense." And he started walking away. And the refugees called out, "Vedran, where are you going?" And he said, "I don't know. Anywhere. Just let me walk." And so he did. He walked through the deserted streets. He found a spot overlooking the city. And there, in the shadow of bombed buildings, he took out his cello and he played. The next morning, the refugees found Vedran in the same spot. He was sleeping beside his cello. The snow had melted. There were patches of green grass, the first in months. And Vedran was playing again. He played all day, classical pieces by Bach and Beethoven. And as he played, the refugees gathered around. They listened to the music echoing through the mountains, filling the valley with hope. And then the strangest thing happened. The refugees started clapping. They cheered for Vedran, the man who played his cello in the shadow of death. Now, Vedran had played for the Russians, the French, the Italians, the Austrians. He'd played in palaces and concert halls. But this was different. This was wartime Sarajevo. The applause was cut short by the sound of a mortar. A white cloud rose above a nearby building. Something blew apart, and then the ground shook. When the smoke cleared, Vedran saw that the building was gone. Mortar fire was indiscriminate. Didn't matter if you were a refugee or a soldier. Vedran quickly realized that he was in danger. He dropped his cello and he ran. He dove into a trench, pulled the dirt over him, and he waited. But it wasn't long before someone shouted, "Get out of there, Vedran, get out of there." And a hand grabbed him, pulled him out of the trench. It was one of the refugees. "We said you have to leave. The Serbs know you're here. They're coming this way." Vedran hesitated, but he had no choice. He grabbed his cello and he ran. He jumped over a wall, landed in a pile of snow, and then he kept running, the refugees' shouts echoing behind him. He didn't dare look back. But just as he rounded a corner, he heard a voice. It said, "Hold it right there. Put your hands up." Vedran froze. He turned slowly. There were two Serbian soldiers pointing their guns at him. He knew that he'd been caught. He knew that he was about to die. One of the soldiers stepped forward, and Vedran closed his eyes, waiting for the shot, willing it to be quick. But instead, the soldier asked him, "Are you the musician?" And Vedran nodded, still not daring to look up. The soldier said, "We know who you are. We know what you did. It was pretty damn brave." Then the other soldier spoke up. He said, "Yeah, we saw you playing from our tank. That was beautiful. We weren't firing at you. We were firing at the building over there. It was full of mujahideen. They were firing at us. We fired back. It's just war." And Vedran finally looked up. He said, "But those people, they were civilians." And the soldier shrugged and he said, "This is war." Then he handed Vedran his cello. He said, "Go on, get out of here. Go play for your people." Vedran left. He walked back to the refugee camp, his head held high, his cello tucked under his arm. The refugees cheered. They embraced him, thanking him for giving them hope, consoling him for giving them pain. But Vedran didn't say a word. He walked away. He went back to his empty apartment. He was still afraid, still tired, still sad. But now he understood. This was his city. He wasn't going anywhere. He would stay with his people. Over the next 3 years, Vedran continued to play. He played for the sick, the dying, the dead. Sometimes he would perform in a bombed-out church, the stained glass windows shattered. Sometimes he would play in a marketplace, the vendors selling their vegetables from wheelbarrows. Sometimes he would stand on a hill overlooking the city, his cello singing in the wind. And every time he played, people listened. They sat in the ruins. They rested their heads against a wall. They dreamed of a better day. In 1995, the war ended. Sarajevo was rebuilt. Vedran was interviewed by newspapers and magazines. His picture was everywhere. Here he is outside his home in Sarajevo. Here he is performing at Carnegie Hall. Here he is accepting an award from the French government. And everywhere he went, he carried a message of peace, a message of hope, a message from the pianist of Sarajevo. They say that music can heal the world. Maybe it can. Maybe it can't. But what we do know is this. Without music, the world would be a much darker place. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to Vedran Smailović, the pianist of Sarajevo. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it. That really helps. Here's another episode that I think you'll like.